Hey everybody, it's Greg, a good Samaritan up in Minnesota. We're getting ready to reset a small marble tab-in slot style headstone. So we just finished one. Let's take a look at what we're working on. Right ahead of me is Jacob Webb, a little 7-year-old boy. His monument was actually leaned up against that bigger one over there. But let's go take a look and see a similar one we just finished up to give you an idea of what the end result will look like. So here's James Nixon, a little 10-month-old boy, I believe, little baby. And so we poured him a new slotted base, set the monument down in the slot, tamped some sand around it, and add a little sealant around the edges to keep the weeds from growing through. So the one that Jacob Webb is almost identical to this, just a touch bigger, but same concept, the same size pad. So let's get to work on that one. Okay, because we've got monuments on either side of this one, I was able to run a string line to kind of give us alignment on where our slab, our new base is going to go. So now we're just going to basically take a shovel, mark the perimeter of this, and cut out about half a foot of sod and black dirt. Okay, we dug out the sod, and I used it nearby to fill some low spots. Depending on your cemetery, you might have to bring a bucket, wheelbarrow, whatever, to transport it out. So I got about pail and a half, 5-gallon pail and a half of aggregate. This is 3/4 inch limestone with fines that a local landscape company supplies me. So we'll go ahead and tamp that down a little bit, level it off, and set the new base in place. And we'll also check our alignment against the string line and the neighboring monuments. Well, this one's zipping right along, so we've got the slab situated. It's all level, all directions. I just need to backfill a little bit around the edges with some aggregate, and then we'll set the tab monument down into the slot. Now this one I'll probably have to add a little aggregate to the bottom of the slot, because this one's got some inscriptions on it that if I don't, the inscriptions will probably be hidden. So we need to probably add a good inch or better to the bottom there. And so then when we get it to the right height, we'll go ahead and level it up, tamp some sand around the edges, and get it all square to the world. Okay, I've added just enough aggregate beneath the monument so that the inscriptions are still showing. Luckily, they weren't any. I didn't need to raise it any more than that, because then I'd lose some stability vertically. But so we're working on Jacob E. Webb, who died June 26, 1878. He was 7 years, 1 month, and 29 days. Can't read all the inscription, but Jesus calls something. We can check that out later on Find the Grave. So now what we're going to do, you can see that when I form this up, I leave about 1/4 inch slot all the way around the monument. So I'm just going to tamp sand in there to kind of wedge it, lock it in place, so it's all plumb. And then our finishing touch, we'll put a bead of kind of a sealant or a caulk, not so much to bond it to the concrete, but more to keep water out and prevent grass and weeds from growing in that crack. So we'll continue on. Okay, so we've got it all, the sand tamped in around the perimeter of the slotted monument the tab monument down into the slotted base. So now all I'm going to do is add some it's actually construction adhesive, but again, not so much to bond the concrete and the marble, but more or less to keep the water out and also keep the weeds and grass from growing in that crack. So this process probably only took me, roughly an hour, and that may seem Actually, this is kind of quick, and you think that, boy, that's pretty easy. The time consuming part of this type of project and reset is the forming up and pouring of the concrete, which is, for me at least, probably a 4-hour process of forming it up, mixing concrete, trying to get the smooth surface and a rounded edge. So roughly not a hell of a lot of time difference in many aspects from some of these stacked monuments, because I've got to dig out the old busted up base, and usually roughly a 2-foot hole. Fill it up with 10-15 pails of aggregate, set the new concrete pad down, erect my my tripod chain hoist, and lift everything in place. Excuse me. So that's our final, just about our end of project on this. I'm just going to add that sealant, and so here we've got Jacob Webb, who passed away in 1878, a little 7-year-old boy. His monument now has a new home again. So rather than resting down the row on somebody else's monument, he's in line with his family members. So thanks for watching. Do what you can in your local cemeteries.